Okay. Thank you very much. Good evening or good morning, wherever you might be in the world. So maybe some people are still trickling in. Maybe some people are, otherwise engaged. But in any case, let's begin in the usual way. So first, setting a brief motivation, thinking that the purpose of my life is to benefit all sentient beings. And therefore, in order to benefit sentient beings in the best way, I must first achieve the state of complete alignment. And then and only then will I have all the skills and qualities and abilities to guide sentient beings in the most effective way from the oceans of samsaric suffering to the state of enlightenment. And therefore, I need to learn about all the various stages of practice in order to achieve enlightenment. And therefore, I'm going to participate in this teaching here today. So, one second. I also wanted to then, continue with the preliminary prayers that we've been doing a few times. Okay. Okay, can you all see that? All right. Just remember, we did this last week. What do? We set our motivation. And then we visualize all sentient beings in the space around us. The Buddha is surrounded by all the other Buddhism bodhisattvas in the space in front of us. And then remembering the qualities of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, which will be outlined here in these prayers, and wishing to attain those qualities within our own mind stream. Then we recite these prayers, these praises. Guru, teacher, Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly complete Buddha, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme God of beings to be subdued, teacher of gods and humans, to you, Buddha Bhagavan, glorious conqueror, Shakyamuni, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. Guru, teacher, Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly complete Buddha, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be subdued, teacher of gods and humans, to you, Buddha Bhagavan, glorious conqueror, Shakyamuni, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. Guru, teacher, Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly complete Buddha, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be subdued, teacher of God and humans, to you, Buddha Bhagavan, glorious conqueror, Shakyamuni, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. And supreme amongst humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world, to you who are wise then I prostrate. With pure bodies, form supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best savior, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like a spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust free like you, the 3 worlds are not, incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The savior having great compassion, the teacher having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you, the one gone to lessness, I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to the Dharma that pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, you who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Do not commit any unwholesome actions, engage in perfect wholesome actions, Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of Buddha. A star, a defective view, a butter lamp flame, an illusion, a dewdrop, a water bubble, a dream, lightning, a cloud. See all causative phenomena like this. By these merits, may transmigratory beings attain the state of all seeing, subdue the enemy of the faults, and be free from the ocean of samsara and disturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. So remember the multiplying mantra before sutra recitation. Tayata Om Dare Dare Bendare Soha. 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 The indescribable, inconceivable, inexpressible perfection of wisdom, unproduced, unceasing, the nature of space, object of the uniquely knowing, transcendental wisdom. To the mother of the victorious ones of the three times I prostrate. I prostrate to the three noble, rare, sublime ones, thus that are here at one time. The Bhagavan was dwelling on Master Vulture's mountain in Rajgriha, together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagavan was absorbed in concentration on the categories of phenomena called profound perception. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara looked upon the very practice of profound perfection of wisdom and beheld those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then, through the power of Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara. How should a son of lineage train who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shariputra. Shariputra, any son of lineage or daughter lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly beholding those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form. Form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness, without characteristic, unproduced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomena. There is no I element, and so on, up to including no mind element and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and dwell on the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration and without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the endpoint of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in three times also manifestly, completely awakened to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment and reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequal, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering should be known as truth, since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared, Tayata gate gate pada sam gate bodhi svaha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should train in profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan rose from that concentration and commended the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara, saying, well said, son of lineage, it is like that, it is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom, just as you have indicated. Even the Tathagatas rejoice. The Bhagavan having thus spoken, the Venerable Shariputra Putra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara, and those surrounding in their entirety, along with the world of gods, humans, asuras, and Gandhavas, were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan. I and all surrounding sending beings take refuge in the Buddha, take refuge in the Dharma, take refuge in the Sangha. We prostrate to the Great Mother Prajnaparamita, surrounded by her children, the assemblies of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the 10 directions. In dependence on my prostrations to all of you, may these words of truth be actualized. In the past, dead King Indra dispelled the Maras by reflecting on the profound meaning of the wisdom gone beyond and reciting the profound words in daily recitation. In that same way, I also reflect on the profound meaning of the Great Mother Prajnaparamita and recite the profound words in daily recitation. May all diseases, spirit possessions, bad conditions, all negative directions, that which happen due to past karma and immediate conditions be dispelled. May they become non-existent. May they be pacified. From the holy supreme realm of Kichara, you who possess power of clairvoyance and magical emanation, look after practitioners like a mother looks after her children. To the host of the Kinis of the three abodes, I prostrate. Akasa Marasha Shasadara Samarai Pe Akasamara Shasadara Samarai Pe Akasamara Shasadara. Akasha Sanara Sara Samara Tayata Gate Parasam Gate Bodhi. So by the teaching of the three noble versatile ones possessing the power of truth, may hindrances be averted, may they be eliminated, may they be pacified, may all enemies and negative forces opposed to Dharma. Shentum Kuriye Soha. May the host of the 80,000 obstacles be pacified. May we be free from harmful conditions to Dharma. May all excellences be in accord with the Dharma, and may there be others, the auspiciousness and perfect happiness here right now. Okay. Sorry, I have a slight sniffle today. All right. So, sorry, can you hear that outside? Okay, good. So, oh, actually, before we jump into this, hold on. Okay. Yes. View, reading view. Okay. So here we go. This is lecture number 3. Okay. And now, as I like to do, after the preliminary prayers, let's further top up our motivation. Very much like these stanzas here from Arya Sura. So those who have obtained a human life rich in virtue through a collection of merit over innumerable eons. So who's that? That's us, right? And who then, due to confusion in this life, fail to accumulate even the slightest treasury of merit. Who is that? Hopefully none of us. So those will in future lifetime enter the house of unbearable sorrow. Like the traders who go to a land of jewels and return home empty-handed. Without the karmic paths of the 10 virtues, you will not obtain a human life again. How can there be happiness without a human life? Without happiness, there is only suffering. Therefore, you have only deceived yourself before going to the next life. There is nothing more confused than this. So here, Arya Sura is exhorting us to make best use of our precious human rebirth. And in particular, urging us to, maintain these 10 karmic virtues, the 10 white dharmas, right? Which is the very foundation of all goodness. So even as Nagarjuna, Chandrakirti, all the great masters, they say they liken the practice of morality, ethical discipline, as being like the earth, which is the foundation upon which everything on the earth grows. And so even Lama Tsongkhapa, when you see in his text, particularly Lamrim Chenmo, you have to understand that Lamrim Chenmo, of course, Lama Tsongkhapa said was a commentary on the Lamp of the Path to Enlightenment by Atisha. And many of you know the history, but in Tibet, the Buddhism had declined after King Langdharma killed his brother, killed all of the monks except for 2 in central Tibet, and virtually wiped out Buddhism in Tibet. Then, as Buddhism was sort of being reinvigorated, Atisha was invited from India to come to Tibet to reestablish the Dharma. And at that time, many wrong views had arisen. And one of the main wrong views that came up was in how to sort of harmonize the various vehicles, which we talked about a little bit, the various practices. And so at that time, some people thought that, oh, I'm a tantric practitioner. These other, pratimoksha vows, that's for people wanting individual liberation. And so that's not a practice for me to do, and seeing it as somehow lower. So Lam Tsongkhapa, following in Atisha's footsteps, showing how those practices are all harmonious, and they're all meant to be practiced by all of us, right? And spent a lot of time using scriptural quotations from the Indian masters, showing the importance of these, practicing the 10 virtues, keeping the pratimoksha vows, and so forth. And so, even in the context of a tantric practitioner, Lam Tsongkhapa quotes, there is a saying, I forget who it is now, I think it's from a Tantra, saying that, those practicing Tantra, they should keep all of the sort of internal discipline of the monk or the ordained person, but the external discipline of wearing the robe, shaving the head, and so forth, they can leave that aside. And furthermore, I think my memory is so bad. I think this is maybe from the Manjushri Tantra, or in any case, in one of the tantras, Manjushri says that those who try to practice tantra without abiding in ethical discipline, although they might practice for many lifetimes, it will not bring the effect. I mean, the good effect of enlightenment. Okay, so like that. So now let's take stock where we are, right? So we've been going through these required topics, and thus far, we've covered these two. Now you'll notice when at the beginning, I noticed there was a few fewer people this week, and so I said, "Oh, maybe they're going to come in while we're reciting the prayers." No one has come in, so I hope it's not because, you know, uh, like Chankya Ropa Dorje said, you know, when Lama Purvachok was giving tantric teachings, he only talked about the three principal paths, and then some people in the audience got bored, and maybe last week, since we were going into all the kind of preliminaries, and actually I think I went on a couple tangents, then I hope people weren't like, oh man, I'm not coming back this week, this is too boring. Okay, but in any case, we've gone through these first two bullet points, and now we have the explanation of Tantra, which is going to be this. And then just looking ahead, we have meditation on deity yoga, and then a 2-day retreat. So what I was hoping to do is go through these first 5 bullet points today. And then next week and the weeks after, be more practice oriented. So yeah, I think that would be better, better than getting into all sorts of theory. And so I thought we could do meditation on deity yoga and in relationship to Chenrezig, and do that on the basis of the, well, parts at least of the Nungne Sadhana. So you guys know Nungne? It's in the suggested integration practice. Yeah, you guys heard Nungne before? Yes. Have you done Nungne before? Maybe. So Nungne practice, it's associated with Avalokiteshvara, Chenrezig. It's a 2-day practice. And the second day is unique in that you don't eat, drink, talk. So we won't be doing that, but we'll at least be going through the sadhana or major parts of it. And yeah, I think that's good. And then not sure if you've read this Intro to Tantra from Essence of Tibetan Buddhism. If you haven't, please read that by next week. And then I think we will be good, because by this week, you should have already read the DB required reading Intro to Tantra. So do that. And then we'll see. We'll have one more kind of lecture where it'll be more commentary. And then the following 2 weeks, fill it with more practice. Yeah? How does that sound? Okay. But, you know, it's a little bit of a mistake to say, oh, let's do all these kind of philosophical studies now and we'll practice later. We'll practice later. Trust me. So I also thought before we get into the philosophical part of this session, we can also do a little bit of meditation. Okay? So I wanted to introduce a practice that maybe some of you know. But it's called the 9-round breathing. Some of you know that? Wow. Amazing. Okay. Well, then you might not need so much explanation, but yeah, please get into a comfortable meditation position. Okay. And in case some of you don't know, this is often done at the beginning of meditation session, and particularly in the beginning of a meditation when one is going to try to do deity yoga or Vajrayana type of meditation. Okay. So as we will talk a little bit about later. So within the body, right, this is common to the both the Tibetan and the kind of ancient Hindu yogic system. There are different energy channels in the body, and chakras, and anyway, various energy channels in the body. And one of the main practices or purposes of Tantra is we start working with these subtle energies in the body, or which are also known as the winds. And when we get control of these winds, these energies, then the mind also becomes more in control. Okay. So, yeah. Now, for the purpose of this meditation, we should do at the beginning a little visualization of some of these energy channels in our body. So we have just three we're going to look at. And so we have the central channel, and we can think that it starts here, right? The midpoint between our eyebrows. And then it follows inside of our skull, down our spine to about 4 finger widths below our navel. Then we have the right channel, which is red, and then comes, parallel to it. And then the left channel is white, and it goes from the left nostril all the way down. Okay. So normally we can think of the right and left channels sort of coming into the central channel at a place that's 4 finger widths below our navel. Okay. But at the beginning of our 9-round breathing, then we first sort of detach them mentally from the central channel and put them into each other. So the right and left channel are into each other, like you can put 2 straws together, right? Like this. Okay, so visualize like that. Okay. So one of my gurus said when we do this, then we can do what's called the Vajra fist. So having the thumb at the base of the ring finger and make a fist like this. Okay. Okay. But we're going to first close the left nostril, right? So we use the right hand to do that and can do like this. Okay. So let me explain first. So we're going to close the left nostril and then inhale through the right nostril. So imagine the breath flows all the way down the right channel into the left channel. Okay. Then we're going to do that for 4 counts. Then we're going to hold the breath for 4 counts. And then we move the finger so that we close the right nostril and then exhale slowly and fully through the left. And we think that as we exhale the breath, also along with the breath, all the impurities, distraction, mental dullness, they're also being expelled. Okay. So we do that then 2 more times. Yeah. Inhale, hold, exhale like this. And then we'll reverse the process. Okay. We hold the right nostril closed, and then we do it with the left hand. Breathe in, and then exhale through the right nostril like that. That's 3 times. And then we put again the right and left channels or into the central channel, and we breathe in through both nostrils. And then, breathe in for 4, hold for 4, exhale. And then think that, again, the impurities are leaving, but all the kind of good, positive energy remains in that central channel. Okay. So we do 3, 3, 3. That's why it's called 9-round breathing. And then normally, right, after we do the 9 rounds, we're already, not closing any nostrils, but we would then just abide, letting go of all effort, and just breathe naturally. But we can continue to focus on the sensations in the body as we breathe. Okay? Is that clear? Amazing. You guys are experts. So let's do. Okay. So I've given you all the instructions, so I don't have to give them anymore. Let's just do the 9 rounds, okay? After completing the 9 rounds, let go of the effort of breathing and just allow the breath to settle back into a natural rhythm. Okay. So, yeah, please come out of the meditation. How's that? Yeah, you guys done before. So, yeah, very good. Um, you know, probably good to say, or remind you, you know, it didn't take very long. And so throughout your day, um, you can do this. Instead of or like during a break from your work. I have my exams are coming up later this week, and you guys know the Pomodoro technique. Pomodoro technique. Uh, I've been experimenting with it. It helps. Well, supposedly. The thing is this: because you might have a big project, it's so daunting to think, oh, I have to study 8 hours. You break up your sessions into 25 minutes, 25-minute on, 5-minute off. So, but for those 25 minutes, no checking the phone, no doing this or that, no distractions. So it's very wise. I wonder actually if this person is Italian who came up with this. I wonder if he had studied the traditional Tibetan Buddhist text, because Asanga, when he talks about developing shine, shamatha, talks about first having your meditation session be 24 minutes. The thought being, if you choose a session that's too long, you'll get fatigued, and that can be very demotivating. So better than having, a long time of sort of distracted work, have short bursts of focused work. So anyway, 25 minutes and 5 minutes off. You do that a few times, and then I think after 4 of those, which would be 2 hours, then you can take a little bit longer break. So in that 5 minutes, you could do your 9-round breathing. Okay. Anyway. Okay. So yeah, here again, just making sure we're on the same page. And I said, let's try to do these 5. And then how to do deity retreats with Lam Rim, we can talk about when we actually do the practice. Okay. All right. So now, first, differences between Sutra and Tantra. Okay. So we kind of touched on this before. But just to review, right? We have these yanas, right? Yanas. Oops. Oops. Hey, okay. Yana, right? We said vehicle, the Sanskrit word for vehicle. And just as a vehicle takes a person to a particular goal, okay? There can be differences in their destination. There can also be differences in the speed with which that vehicle can allow the traveler to get there, right? So here, it's nice. They translate Hinayana as individual vehicle. So sometimes you'll see it used to be like the lesser vehicle, because tek menpa. Menpa or hina, literally it's lower, right? Or yeah, lesser. Um, but that takes a certain kind of, sorry for the word, pejorative. It's a bit can be taken a little bit offensive if you're one of those practitioners, right? So there has been a movement in all sort of parts of the of society to kind of examine the words we use and yeah, say things in a bit more mindful way, mindful of the people to whom you'd be referring. So you can imagine, right? The people practicing these things, if we say that they're lesser, they can maybe get offended, right? So His Holiness, even, decades ago, right, before the whole woke movement started, then His Holiness was very big on this, to yeah, kind of not use yeah, words that would then sort of alienate our brothers and sisters in the Theravadan tradition, because it is the now what we see with the Shravakayana, right? That's what the people in the Theravada mostly are doing, right? So we had said their goal, and why here now they call it the individual vehicle, because the goal of their practice is to attain nirvana, liberation from samsara, for just themselves alone. So just individual, yeah. And then that is broken up into 2. So remember last week's motivational quotation, right, from the 37 practices of bodhisattvas. If even the hearers and solitary realizers set forth effort as if their bodies were on fire or hair was on fire, right? So we saw those 2 words, the hearer, solitary realizer. Just so you know, most of the direct disciples of Buddha that we hear about and we see in the sutras, Shariputra, Moggallana, Ananda, so forth, Kashyapa, so forth, then they were practicing this here vehicle. And the etymology, right? One hears the teaching of the Buddha in their last life when they achieve nirvana, and then they practice those teachings. Solitary realizer, right? In their last life, before they achieve nirvana, they are born in a time and place where the Buddhist teachings don't exist. So it is actually said that around Varanasi, which is where the Buddha first taught, before the Buddha came into this world, there are many solitary realizers there. And they knew the Buddha was coming. And so since they had made these aspirations to achieve nirvana in a time and place where the Buddha didn't exist, then they're sort of it is said they levitated into the sky and sort of combusted, burst into flames, and then their relics dropped in the place there. Anyway, so yeah, these solitary realizers, they practice longer. They practice for, I mean, some texts they say for 100 extra eons, so that they can familiarize themselves with emptiness and the teachings, and collect extra merit so that they can attain such a state without directly relying on a guru or a Buddha in their last life. Okay. Then we have the universal vehicle. In other words, the Mahayana. This also is nice. Universal, so one's motivation is that of bodhicitta, wishing to achieve enlightenment, not just mere nirvana, but enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And therefore, it encompasses all beings in the universe. So then, there are two types of universal vehicle. The sutra vehicle, or sutrayana, or the perfection vehicle, paramitayana, also known as the causal vehicle. And then that's in contrast to the tantric vehicle. And then you also see secret mantra vehicle or just mantra vehicle, the diamond vehicle or vajra vehicle, and the resultant vehicle. Okay. So we'll get into the etymology of all this. So sutra vehicle, remember we said it was that class of sutras, and here in particular, that path laid out for Mahayana practitioners, right, was not just any kind of sutra, but this class of sutras called the Perfection Wisdom Sutra. Okay, and those form, the main body of practice for a Mahayana practitioner. So we have, of course, in other contexts, we talked about the two lineages that came down, and in the greatness of the Lamrim, remember, we were saying it combined all the lineages of practice from the profound view and extensive deeds, right? So the profound view is emptiness, and that was the explicit subject matter in the Perfection of Wisdom Sutras. And then we have the extensive deeds lineage, which was the hidden meaning of the Prajnaparamita Sutras. And those of you who've been in my classes before, right? Pop quiz. Which was the commentary? Okay, so just as the profound view lineage came down from Buddha Shakyamuni to Manjushri to Nagarjuna, so forth, the extensive deeds lineage came from Shakyamuni Buddha to whom? Maitreya. Yes, I can read lips. And the text that he composed that makes explicit, right, the implicit meaning of the Prajnaparamita Sutras. Okay, I saw Shanti reading lips here. Abhisamaya Alamkara, or the ornament of clear realization. Okay, so now, what does it mean? The hidden meaning, right, versus the explicit meaning. So when we recited the Heart Sutra, for example, right, just a few minutes ago, then Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara looked upon the very practice of perfection wisdom and beheld those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Okay, so that's what it means, empty. And then form is empty, emptiness is form, blah blah blah. Right? Sorry, I don't mean to blah blah blah. And so forth. Sorry, just in a manner of speaking, right? So the explicit meaning, right, is there. What the words are directly saying. Empty of inherent nature, that is the meaning of emptiness. So the Prajnaparamita Sutras describe that. Now, when we look at the question, how should any son of the lineage train who wishes to practice the profound perfection of wisdom, right? Should I push this question to Avalokiteshvara? Okay. So here, we have, right, son of the lineage, and they're sort of wishing to train in the profound perfection of wisdom. Okay. So, in other contexts, in like the 8,000 line Perfection of Wisdom Sutra or other Perfection of Wisdom Sutras, right? So this is, referring to the motivation of son of a lineage, means a bodhisattva. Okay. So implicitly within that, there's bodhicitta. Implicitly. Right? So wishing to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom, the perfection of wisdom isn't just the realization of emptiness, but it's the realization of emptiness conjoined with bodhicitta. Right? That's what puts that's what makes a meditation on emptiness perfection, right? So sheragi parotu chimpa, okay? So that's the Tibetan word. Paro is like the other side, right? So what enables one's meditation on emptiness to take you to the other side being enlightenment, it is the fact that it's conjoined with bodhicitta. Now, this is an important point. Okay. So just as the Buddha teachings here, we're dividing into two categories in terms of the vehicles, right? They also can be divided according to tenet system, right? And we have the 4 tenet systems. Some of you studied this before. We have the Vaibhashikas, Sautrantika, Chittamatra, and Majjhimika, right? Yes. So then within the Majjhimika, there's 2, the autonomist, Svatrantika Majjhimika, and the consequentialist, Prasangika Majjhimika. Okay. So Only the Prasangika Madhyamika, okay, they have a different view. But the first four, well, three and a half, they say that there is also a difference in the object of meditation for people in the individual vehicle versus the universal vehicle. Mm, well, hmm, I should I should put a caveat here. Um, the Vaibhashika and the mm, uh, Sautrantika, they mm, they hold a position that actually they don't believe in emptiness as we're now talking about emptiness of inherent existence or emptiness of true existence. They don't believe in that. So they also hold that even they do hold that there are Buddhas, but they don't think that they meditate on emptiness. Then when we talk about the Chittamatra and the Svachantika Majjhimika, they hold that the object of meditation for someone on Mahayana or someone just desiring individual liberation, they meditate on different objects. Okay. You with me? So the, if you're not with me, it's okay. It's okay too. Point is, right? The Prasangika, this is just to give some distinction to the Prasangika, they hold that all the different vehicles, right? In order to attain even individual liberation or complete enlightenment, you have to realize emptiness according to the Prasangika school, the subtlest view of emptiness. Okay. So, yeah, that's the difference. The difference isn't in the object of the meditation, but the difference is in the motivation only, right? That's how the Prasagikas differentiate between uh, the universal and individual. And this is why we talked about last week, why the perfection of wisdom is seen like a mother, right? Because all the three types of arhat are born from that wisdom realizing emptiness. What are the three types of arhat? The here arhat, solitary realizer arhat, and then a Mahayana arhat would be Buddha, right? In the beginning, to the Guru, founder, Bhagavan, Tathagata, arhat, right? So the Buddha is also an arhat, Mahayana arhat, the best kind of arhat. Okay. All right. So that's perfection of wisdom. They are practicing the six perfections, ethical discipline, generosity, ethical discipline, patience, joyous perseverance, meditation, and wisdom. Okay. And it's also called the causal vehicle. So in those practices, they're accumulating the causes to achieve enlightenment. Now, here, you probably also have heard of the four bodies of the Buddha, two bodies of the Buddha, three bodies of the Buddha, the bodies of the Buddha, kayas, right? So normally when they talk about there's two kayas, it will be the Rupa Kaya, form body, and Dharma Kaya, wisdom body. It's sometimes translated like that. When you divide into three, the Rupa Kaya then becomes two. Sambhoga Kaya, enjoyment body, complete enjoyment body, and the Nirmana Kaya, emanation body. And then Dharmakaya just stays as one. That's the three bodies. And then when there's four bodies, the Dharmakaya is then further divided into the Svabhavikaya, or the nature truth body, and the wisdom truth body, jhana, yeshe. Okay. Now, Nagarjuna, and we sometimes do this prayer, but Nagarjuna in the Precious Garland, he says, due to these merits, may I attain the two enlightened bodies that come from the collection of merit and wisdom. Okay. So the collection of merit, Sonam Gitso, is the cause of the form body of the Buddha, and the collection of wisdom becomes the cause for the Dharmakaya, the wisdom body of the Buddha. Now, it should be known when we talk about body, right? It's like a body of water, right? A collection, something collected. So the form body, so Shakyamuni Buddha is a form body. But form body of the Buddha is actually a person. So Nirmanakaya is a person. Okay. The Dharmakaya is not a person. So when we have the Dharmakaya just meaning like the omniscient mind of the Buddha. Okay. That is a body of the Buddha, but it's not a physical body. Right? It's a collection of good qualities. So in any case, these collection of merit and collection of transcendental wisdom, then they say, so the perfection of wisdom, the perfection of meditation, those become the cause of the Yeshe Gitsok, the collection of wisdom. The first three perfections become the cause, of the form body, or the Sonam Gitsok, the perfection of merit, or the collection of merit. And then the fourth perfection, right, enthusiastic effort, depends. What are you persevering at? When you're persevering in the first three perfections, then it becomes part of that. You know what I mean? It becomes in the collection of merit. When you're persevering in the last two perfections, then your perfection of effort sort of gets credited in the Yeshe Gitsok, or the collection of wisdom account. Okay? All right. So, although there is that presentation, so in Lama Tsongkhapa's Ngakrim Chenmo, the great stages of Tantra, then he spends a lot of time and energy to differentiate what the differences between Sutra and Tantra are. And although there is this talk of the perfection vehicle, right, there was a wrong view that came up that, oh, these six perfections, that's the Sutra only. And those practicing Tantra, they don't need to practice these perfections. And this goes into the how some so-called tantric practitioners in the past, they denigrated the practice of ethical discipline. But Lama Tsongkhapa refutes that view, saying no. The tantric practitioners still practice the six perfections. That is necessary. But rather, it's called the perfection of wisdom because it is the explicit and implicit teachings of the Prajnaparamita, or the perfection of wisdom sutras, that are being practiced. Okay? That's the point. Not that one is practicing the perfections and the others don't. That's not true. Okay? All right. So here we have tantric vehicle. So in general, Tantra, yeah, Gyu in Tibetan, is continuum. And so in general, the Guhya Samaja Tantra we talked about last week, right? It talks about three different continuum. We have the continuum of where we are now, right? We have the continuum of the path, and then we have the continuum of the result, right? And so the thing that is the continuum, the mind, right, has been there from beginningless time. And just this continuum of especially the subtlemost nature of the mind is, has always been there. Now it's just temporarily obscured. Through a path of practice, we're going to get rid of the obscurations and then leave the pure continuum of the Buddha at the end. Okay. So, in my estimation, in my kind of educated guess, it's important to keep in mind, right, that everything we need for enlightenment is already here with us, right? Well, I don't know about everything, but the main thing we need to become enlightened, what do you think that is? The mind. Because what is enlightenment? But it's a state of mind, right? So the essential thing, actually, maybe better to put it this way: the essential thing that's needed to become enlightened is not only a mind, but an unenlightened mind, right? Because it's the unenlightened mind that's going to become enlightened. Okay, that's amazing. That's amazing. So in that sense, we have everything we need. Okay. So then we talk about mantra. Yeah, and then we'll talk about secret mantra in a second. But I forget the Sanskrit root, but maybe manas is mind, tra is to protect. So there is this thought of protecting the mind. Now, here again, right? A little warning. Some people, although in the Tibetan tradition, there's a lot of emphasis on studying the etymology, the parts of the word. A lot of people can take things very literally about that. And then this thought is like, oh, wait, mantra is to protect the mind. But wait a minute, is the sutra vehicle not protecting the mind? No, it's not saying that. It's not saying that. The means of how, and so we think maybe mantra is Om Mani Padme Hum. Yes, maybe. that is a mantra. But whether or not that recitation of Om Mani Padme Hum does something to actually protect the mind is kind of up to us, right? And so we'll get into this next week, but that mantra recitation is only one relatively small part of the actual practice that we should be doing when we do these, tantric sadhanas and practices, right? So secret, secret. Well, as we'll see in a few minutes, these profound techniques, if done without proper basis, without proper prerequisites, one could say, and without proper motivation, they can become at worst harmful, and at best they yeah we see, like last week, we talked about the Hevajra yogi attaining the stream enter, right? So, and then we talked about that one, the initiation requested by Vajrapani, where Manjushri says, don't even show the mudras, don't even show the hand gestures to those who haven't had bodhicitta, who haven't attained bodhicitta. So, in any case, it's secret for that sense. Here, diamond vehicle or Vajrayana. So that has a connotation of being indestructible, yes. But it also has a connotation of being inseparable. So we were talking about the collections of merit and transcendental wisdom. Another way we can describe it is, method and wisdom. We have the method side practice and the wisdom side practice. So those first three perfections are the method side, and then the last two is the wisdom side. So normally, in the perfection of wisdom path, one meditates on emptiness, one meditates single-pointedly in meditative equipoise. During that time, an Arya Bodhisattva's only thing appearing to the mind is emptiness itself, and all conventional appearances don't appear. All conventional phenomena don't appear. But then they arise from their meditation and make offerings, practice patience, and there are other practices they do. At that time, emptiness is not appearing to the mind, only conventional phenomena. So they alternate. In the Vajrayana, what is inseparable is in one mind, there is the combination of the wisdom and the method. How? We'll get into in 1 minute. Then we have the resultant vehicle. So here, resultant vehicle, what is the result? Enlightenment. Now, I was mentioning how Lama Tsongkhapa refutes different ideas about what differentiates these two. So, it's a bit interesting, but I like to think, if you haven't really studied these wrong views, then maybe it's not always the best to kind of go into them, because there's a risk that you might find them appealing. So we're just going to go to the right view, okay? And so the right view is that it's called a resultant vehicle because the result of enlightenment, they say, we bring that into the path. We bring that into the path now. How we do that is the next bullet point, deity yoga, okay? So in the practice of deity yoga, and see, differences between Sutra and Tantra, deity yoga. So the quintessential point and difference between Sutra and Tantra is the practice of deity yoga. Okay. Now, deity here means the Buddha, the Yidam. And so there's many, Tara, Manjushri, right? Oh, by the way, that's the ones me. Avalokiteshvara, and then when we start to talk about the higher tantras, Yamataka Chakasambhara, Guhya Samaja, okay. But all the deity yoga practices, okay, Mm, do I want to say all? Okay, we can say most. There, yeah. I mean, what differentiates a deity yoga practice? Maybe some of you have heard, but one visualizes yourself as deity. Okay, that's a very rough understanding, but in a more mm, complete way, it's a practice where you're bringing these four purities into your practice now in the means of visualization at first, right? So we have the pure body, which is you visualizing yourself as the deity now. The pure abode would be, the particular mandala and the um yeah, the mandala of the deity. Remember, we were saying this is different from the mandala that is offered at the beginning of teachings, right? When we talk about the mandala of the deity, it's like the abode, the celestial mansion, and then outside the various gardens or um, yeah, pure abode, pure enjoyments, then those implements. Okay, the the crown, the necklaces, the bracelets, armlets, the divine silks, and so forth. Um, and then the pure activities. Well, when we do mantra recitation, for example, we visualize that from our heart, countless light rays radiate out in the 10 directions, and these come to then purify the sentient beings, right? So this activity of benefiting sentient beings, purifying them, that's what the Buddhas are doing all the time. So we imagine that we are doing that now. From now, we're already the Buddha. We're already living the in the mandala. We're purifying sentient beings in this way. Okay. So now a big caveat, right, is in order to do this, one needs initiation, right? So remember, once I've become a pure vessel by training in the common path, please bless me to enter the holy gateway of the fortunate ones, the supreme Vajra vehicle, right? And then we were saying, how do we enter the Vajra vehicle? Is we need initiation to fully practice. And yeah. Now, because this comes up a lot, I did think to just mention this. When we talk about initiation, I'm going to stop the screen share. You'll see this sometimes, right? There's the what they call the Wang, and then the Jenang. So Wang, sometimes empowerment, you'll hear that. And then Jenang, J is subsequent. Nang is like permission. So subsequent permission, initiation. Have you heard of those? So, of course, these days it's not always like this, but generally a Wang or a empowerment will take 2 days. And on the first day, you will be given kusha grass, 2 sticks of grass that you put under your bed. You recite a certain mantra before you go to bed, and then you check your dreams. Okay, and the next day you have the rest of the initiation. Of course, in this day and age, sometimes His Holiness the Dalai Lama will give the full thing in one day. Then we had the other end, where sometimes Lama Zopa Rinpoche, although traditionally it would be 2 days for initiation, sometimes he would take 7, 8, 9 days. In any case, Wang, that's like a full one, right? Full initiation. And then there's the subsequent permission initiation. These are shorter and less elaborate rituals. So normally you would have to take a wang or full initiation first, and then you can take a subsequent permission initiation of the level of the class of Tantra you've received an empowerment for and below. Okay. Now, there is a little flexibility with that. And I know, for example, the Vajrasattva that's practiced and became very popular due to Lama Yeshe's kindness was the highest yoga tantra version of Vajrasattva, Haruka Vajrasattva, which has, you see in the image with a consort. But it was the tradition that this jenang of Haruka Vajrasattva would be given to people whether or not they've had a previous High Yoga Tantra empowerment before. Okay. So yeah, the Vajra master does have a bit of discretion with these kinds of things. But generally speaking, you would need to have had a empowerment before taking on a jenang of that class of Tantra. So if you've had a High Yoga Tantra initiation, then any Tantras, lower Tantra, that jenang, you could then do the practice in full. But there's a little bit of debate whether if you then with just the jenang of those lower tantras, you could do the retreat. There's a bit of debate. Anyway, if you were, for example, given the advice to do a medicine Buddha retreat, then it might be good to ask your Lama to give you the full initiation and not just a jenang. Okay? All right. So yeah, I wanted to give a few minutes to that because it comes up a lot. Okay, so now next, 4 levels. Here we have 4 levels of Tantra. And action or Kriya, performance, Charya, Yoga, highest yoga. And then there's this very famous quotation, well, famous in certain circles, from the Samputa Tantra. There it says the 4 aspects of laughing, looking, holding hands, and the 2 embracing reside as the 4 tantras in the manner of insects. So so the first Panchen Lama, Panchen Losang Chökyi Gyaltsen, who wrote the Guru Puja, he was the first Panchen Lama, and he gives commentary to this verse. I'm going to read it. So in the manner of insects, what does that mean? So, there's some insects that like termites, they're born in wood, but then they eat the wood, right? So here he says a wood engendered insect is born from wood, but consumes it completely. In the same way, a great bliss is generated in dependence on a causal motivation, which is the desire of looking, laughing, holding hands, or embracing, or a union of the 2 organs, male and female organs. The wisdom of indifferentiable bliss and emptiness, which is this great bliss generated undifferentiably, undifferentiably, excuse me, with a mind cognizing emptiness at the same time, consumes completely the afflictions, desire, ignorance, and so forth. Okay. So, in other words, these four tantras, they're divided on the basis of the practitioner's ability to use these four forms of bliss and desire, which correspond to the four types of here it's getting into a little bit of cosmology, but we're in the desire realm, and then even in the desire realm, humans, animals, yes, but even there's some gods, small g gods, that are in the desire realm. And maybe some of you have heard of the god realm of the 33. Okay, so up to that level, and of course humans, they engage in sexual union. Okay, then there's even higher god realms. It's called the land without combat, and they gain satisfaction through embracing. And then there's Ganden, right, the joyous land, different from Ganden Pure Land, but there they gain satisfaction through holding hands. And then the land of liking emanation, they laugh, and the land of controlling others' emanations through looking. Okay, so actually, yeah, you know, the bliss that comes from sexual union is seen as a rather gross form of satisfaction, right? And yeah, later, when you get even higher beyond the desire realm, then these beings don't even eat food anymore, right? And then the formless realm is even sort of more subtle than that. They don't even have gross bodies, right? So in any case, yeah, depending on the trainee's level, you know, of course, the bliss that would come from just seeing, like, you know, a beautiful person, right? There is some, and it's less powerful and therefore easier to control. And then as you go up the different levels, you know, stronger energy, therefore harder to control, right? So in any case, that's how they're distinguished in terms of the energy that's being used. But in terms of the actual kind of practice, right? Then see, you're using those different levels of bliss in the path. That's why sometimes you also see Tantra referred to as, like, you know, bringing desire into the path, right? The perfection vehicle, right? We're you know, constantly meditating, or we should be meditating on the faults of samsara, the faults of desire, right? And so, you know, here, right, in the monastery, right, we are like to some degree practicing denial, right? Know this, know that, you know, no women, no singing, no alcohol, right? Huh. And at the beginning, for sure, you know, when you don't have control, these things can be very, very, very problematic for us, which is why, right? We could eat a whole tub of ice cream, right? Like this. We can then, and this is how, not to be funny, but, drug addiction, alcohol, how it all works. When one doesn't have control of the desire, there is something pleasant that comes up, but we kind of latch on and cling to that, and then we get addicted. So at the beginning, when one's trying to break free from the addiction, having a period of total abstinence to allow our mind to have a more balanced relationship with those objects of desire is very helpful, right? But now in the Vajrayana, already assuming that one is in a balanced state, then one can start to utilize those energies. It's a very Eastern way of thinking, like judo, like using the energy, using the opponent's energy on itself, right? So, in particular, the blissful energy, that's coming, the mind becomes more subtle, and we use that more subtle mind to meditate on emptiness. That's the point, and that's why we want to use these four. Okay, so that's in terms of the energies and the bliss that's utilized. Now, in terms of the actual practice, okay, we say action and performance tantra. Okay, so okay, I'll read an explanation from wow, Tripita Kamala, okay, ostensibly an Indian master who wrote this text, A Lamp for the Three Modes. So there he wrote, by the force of potencies from conditioning in another birth, some cannot attain mental equipoise without a home in the forest away from people, or without activities such as bathing, drawing a mandala, offering burnt offerings, asceticism, and repetition of mantra. Thus, action tantras were taught for them. Also, there are those whose minds adhere to suchness and who the power of faith achieve wisdom by the means of the activities set forth by the Sugata. They rely on activities, and for them, the fundamental tantras that do not have many branches of activities were set forth. So these are the performance tantras. Okay. Others are interested solely in meditation on non-dual suchness and mainly engage in yoga because they consider groups of many activities to be distracting. For them, performance tantras that secondarily teach only a few branches of activities were set forth. So that's the yoga tantras and high yoga tantras. Okay. So anyway, as you will see, and yeah, hopefully we can get into this a little bit. If you've done the Noonday retreat or even the Noonday sadhana, there's so many, bath offering, right? And you're doing a lot of activities with the various mudras. You're supposed to bathe completely before every session. At the very least, you sort of rinse your mouth and wash your hands and feet. So there's a lot of these kind of ritual things. Okay. Now, so that it doesn't just become empty ritual, right? You should be, when you bathe, imagining that you're giving yourself initiation, and it's not just, the shower coming down from the shower head, but it's actually the divine nectar of the initiating deities giving you the initiation at the time of your bath, When you put on the clothes, you're not just putting on a shirt, but you're thinking it's the divine dress of Avalokiteshvara. So all of these things as you go through life, right? We're trying to build up, and this is the essence of deity yoga. We're trying to build up divine pride and divine appearance. Divine pride meaning thinking of yourself as being the deity already, and then thinking of these, the four purities, and sometimes you also see it being explained like, okay, you view everything you see as the deity, the environment as the mandala, and all the thoughts as the manifestation of the Dharmakaya, right? And then on a practical level, you think that this is not the regular house, but this is the divine abode of Avalokiteshvara. Okay. All right. So next, the two stages. Now we're talking Highest Yoga Tantra. And so Panchen Losang Chogyен, again, was he wrote so much on Tantra. And he wrote one text that had these two definitions. So we'll discuss these. So he was defining the generation stage as a yoga that matures the mental continuum for its resultant completion stage that does not arise from causing the winds to enter, abide, and dissolve in the central channel due to meditation, but mutually investigates any aspect related to the three stages of birth, death, and intermediate state. So this is why, in part, I did the 9-round breathing at the beginning of this session, right? So we visualized the central channel, and we were visualizing that these energies were entering into the central channel and then dissolving into them, right? So these actually are going to mirror, right? Yeah, some practices found on the generation stage in Highest Yoga Tantra, but yeah, without getting too much into that. Sorry. Those practices will mirror some practice of the completion stage, because as we see, completion stage is the yoga in a continuum of a learner derived from causing the winds to enter, abide, and dissolve in the central channel due to meditation. So the main thing in the completion stage is to work with these energies and actually have them, enter, abide, and dissolve in the central channel. Before we do it in an actual level, we do it in the realm of imagination as a way to train, right? So now here in this definition set forth, see, it's the generation is not causing the winds to enter, abide, and dissolve in the central channel due to meditation, but rather investigates any aspect related to the three stages of birth, death, and intermediate state. Okay, so I assume that some, but not all of you, have taken a Highest Yoga Tantra initiation. Okay, so those of you who have, and therefore have done some of the sadhanas, you'll see in the generation of the deity, there's talk of bringing the three kayas into the path. Have you seen? So that is what they're talking about here. You have the three stages of birth, death, and intermediate state, or the bardo. Okay. And right now in samsara, we're doing that in an uncontrolled way, right? But when we have attained the level of control whereby we can direct, okay, first utilizing death to manifest what we mentioned last time, the clear light mind at the time of death, right? We use that to meditate on emptiness. And this is what enabled Lama Tsongkhapa to attain enlightenment at the time of death, right? Hmm. So normally, okay, let's take it like this, right? So normally when we die, we die, we go through the bardo, and then we take rebirth. Okay. The uncontrolled process is like that. But if we can control the process, instead of dying in a normal way, we manifest the clear light mind meditating on emptiness. Then from that, instead of going into the bardo state, which has a kind of, very, very subtle body, so even ordinary beings, right? We've experienced this so many times in the bardo. We take a kind of subtle bardo body that can pass through walls, right? So it's not gross and obstructive like we have. So that's kind of akin. So the unenlightened, right? Okay, unenlightened time of death, right? Then we go into the intermediate state uncontrollably. But if we have control, then instead of taking a bardo body, we can manifest the Sambhogakaya, or the enjoyment body of Buddha. And then instead of taking a ordinary gross birth like this, right, which we normally do and have done beginningless times, or numberless times, then we can take birth in an emanation body. Okay. So within some of the sadhanas, you'll see that dissolving into emptiness, taking a the intermediate state in the path, and then manifesting the full kind of emanation. Okay. But I'm not going to get more into that right now. Okay. And then the completion stage is, after you have done the generation stage to a point where you have the ability to visualize the mandala, yourself, all your implements, so forth. So you have very, very, very amazing concentration. Then on the basis of that concentration, you do these various practices to cause the winds to enter, abide, and dissolve into your central channel. Okay, so in the traditional text, there's a lot of debate about these definitions. So they are not, strictly speaking, 100%. Because for one, the Kala Chakra Tantra has an entirely different approach to this. Okay, I can say this. So the Kala Chakra Tantra, instead of purifying the three, birth, death, and intermediate state, there's no explicit practice to purify the intermediate state. Okay. And then, yeah. Anyway, I don't want to get into it now. But their means of completion stage here, this definition is more like the systems of Tantra, excluding the Kala Chakra. Yeah. So anyway, so we have the 9 preliminary practices. So normally what they talk about, there's the common preliminaries and uncommon preliminaries. The common preliminaries are, the Lamrim up to bodhicitta. Okay. And so, impermanence in death, karma, suffering of samsara, right? All that we should do. Then these 9 preliminaries. So normally in Kagyu, for example, they sometimes talk about the four preliminaries, sometimes 5 preliminaries, because you see, refuge and bodhicitta and mandala offerings are often done together. I don't know if you've ever done mandalas, but when you wipe the plate, you recite the refuge formula, refuge and bodhicitta, like this. So that means every mandala offering, you're also doing refuge and bodhicitta. Then prostrations, Vajrasattva and Guru Yoga, those are done. Okay, there's a 4/5. Here in the Galupa, then there is some added on to that. Okay. I'm going to leave a little bit of time for questions. So I'll just say prostrations normally we do in conjunction with the 35 Buddha practice. That's what Lama Tsongkhapa also did. And refuge and bodhicitta is not just reciting the formula, but to meditate. Mandala offerings, yeah, we did at the beginning. Sashipurki, you also see the 37 heat mandala practice. Yeah, with all the continents and the offering goddesses and so forth. So water bowls, you see behind me. So sometimes I think at the centers, Land of Medicine Buddha did this several years ago. And you often see in Bodh Gaya, they at Root Institute, they will lay out the water bowls. I know in Nalanda or Vajrayogini, somewhere in the south of France, they also do a water bowl retreat. One benefit of doing it in the group, what I've heard, right? You can count all the water bowls if you do it together, So if whatever the 9 of us all get together, we all do 100 each. Then at the end, we just offer 900 together. We get that kind of credit. I don't mean to talk like that, but one receives the benefit. It's my background in finance. Okay. Samaya Vajra mantra. Oh, sorry, Guru Yoga. So here, this would be the counting Mixema, doing it in conjunction with Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, but reciting Mixema. Samaya Vajra mantra Samaya is like the tantric commitment, right? So this is a very powerful purification practice, purifying broken tantric vows and so forth. Satsas are these, I think many of you know, little clay or use plaster of Paris, something like this, images of Buddha. There is a way to do water satsas as well, where it's almost like you put the mold of a satsa almost like on a fishing pole, and you sit by a river or a lake and you just dip it inside. And then Vajradaka or Doja Kadro burnt offerings. Some of you might have done this. But yeah, you use black sesame seeds. You visualize that your negativities go into the sesame seeds and then you burn them. So normally these are done 100,000 each. But those of you who had the good fortune to ask Lama Zopa Rinpoche about your life practices, Rinpoche checked what would be most beneficial for you, and you'll see. For some, he would say, 400,000 prostrations, but only 10,000 mandala offerings. Others, he would say, you know what? Don't, maybe none of these, but instead recite the Vajrakata Sutra every day, right? So historically, actually, Kirti Sinship Rinpoche said this, and Lama Zopa Rinpoche was very fond of quoting, that these 9 preliminaries were seen to be the sort of least of different preliminary practices that you could take. The middle one would be to recite the 8,000 line Prajnaparamita Sutra 100 times. And the best preliminary would be to study the 5 great texts like we do here at Sera. Right. So anyway, Rinpoche, in checking one's individual karma, would then see which practices would be most beneficial and then gave that advice. So, okay. Since we're almost out of time, I wanted to press pause there and open it up for questions. And then we can continue next week with Avalokiteshvara practice. Shanti, you look like what was that painting with Dali with the clocks melting? Right? Right? That you look like you're in that painting, except no clocks. Okay, does anyone have questions?
I have one quick question back to the quote you began with. Was that Atisha or Lama Tsongkhapa that went to kind of straighten out the confusion about not Sutra and Tantra?
Right. So it was Atisha, but Lama Tsongkhapa followed in those footsteps. Right. So in okay, the Lamrim Chenmo, Lama Tsongkhapa said that when he talked about the author of the text, he talked about Atisha, right? So he viewed, you know what I mean? He viewed his project as being the same as Atisha in how do you say? Clearing up these confusion about the harmony of Sutra and Tantra practice. So that's why I said, it's the same like that.
Thank you.
Okay. Here, I found it. You see, the persistence of memory. Isn't that? I wonder if the people who made that background had that in mind. Okay. Okay. Well, there's no other questions. Yeah, we can dedicate. We went over a little bit last week, so I owe you some time. Yeah, so let's dedicate due to the merit we've accumulated here in our time here today. May all sentient beings, vast of space, quickly be freed from all their sufferings of body and mind, and attain the state of enlightenment as quickly as possible. We also dedicate for all the proximate causes for suffering to exist in the world, all the suffering due to natural disasters, environmental degradation, various diseases of body and mind, famine, all these things, may they be instantly pacified in this and all, also war. May they instantly be pacified in this and all the world systems of the 10 directions from now until the end of samsara. We also dedicate for the long lives of spiritual friends, particularly Solan Dalai Lama, and may they continue to benefit us through their teaching. We also dedicate that all of our gurus who have recently manifested passing away into the Dharmata, may they again take rebirth in this world in a form that will be most beneficial for sentient beings. We also dedicated all the centers and projects of AFPMT, particularly Land of Medicine, Buddha, and Ocean of Compassion Center. Have all their obstacles removed and receive all their required conditions so they can be most beneficial for sentient beings and the teachings of Buddha. And yeah, goes without saying, we dedicate for the mind of bodhicitta to rise in our hearts and the hearts of all sentient beings without even a second's delay, and may that bodhicitta that has been arisen may it never decline but always increase. Okay, so thank you very much. Please read the Lama Yeshe article for next week. It was kind of, my camera was too low. And yeah, if you, yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay, thank you very much. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you for
I'll be done with my exams, so I might be in a bit better mood.
Okay. Thank you, Namalam.
Okay. Bye.
Bye bye.